In this first letter of John, do we need to do a little bit on what these letters are? So there are 3 letters that are written to this community that smell a lot like the Gospel of John. So we named them 1, 2, and 3 John. And that's about all we know. We don't quite know who they were or who was writing them. Was it the same person who wrote the Gospel or not? We just have to take good guesses at that. But we can learn a little bit about who they are or were based on the sorts of things that, let's call him John then, is writing to this community. So in this first letter of John, John is writing to these people who sure seem to be restless. They don't know exactly what they're supposed to be doing. It's now been a generation or 2, maybe 3, since that upper room experience that the first disciples had. And now these early Christians are finding themselves questioning what this is all about. To become a Christian, after all, meant stepping out of all your old social circles, and it may even have meant being ostracized by your families. It meant adopting a different set of social values, one that didn't make a distinction between Jew or Greek, slave or free, male or female, as Paul wrote to the Galatians. It meant rejecting the strict hierarchies of that Roman world, which also meant being willing to throw in your lot with all of those who were at the bottom of those hierarchies. And here we are, this community is saying, having sacrificed what we've sacrificed, and, well, for what exactly? We don't seem any different. The world doesn't seem any different. What's the point of all this anyway? And here we are, all these many generations later, perhaps wondering some of the same things. The community in John is a few decades removed from the excitement and energy of that new beginning, and we gathered here are maybe a few decades removed from full churches, Lutheran bowling leagues, perhaps, new members being received on a regular basis. Not that long ago, the church was the center of our society, of our community lives. Whatever passed for Christian ethics and morality passed for everybody's ethics and morality. But we don't have that any longer. That's not the world we are living in today. For some, Christianity, or any other religion for that matter, just stopped speaking something meaningful. For many, Christian ethics and morality turned out to be not quite as ethical or as moral as we thought, and even we ourselves have adapted and changed. And as we have done so, we have unfortunately only begun to see some of the damage that has been done. And for others, it's simply easier to get out of the habit, isn't it? As we watch our children and our friends, and, okay, sometimes us too, change their minds or choose to stay home or go hiking on a Sunday morning or enjoy a lazy brunch in our pajamas. Like that community in John, we may be left asking just what our purpose here is. Does the world look like one that has seen the Messiah, after all? What difference does any of this make? Don't you see? John writes to his friends. Don't you see that we are God's children? We are God's children now, not in some far-off future that we are simply sitting around and waiting for, now. That's what is remarkable, I think, about that experience that the disciples had in the upper room. There they are, hiding, afraid that they will be on the next cross, afraid that the knock on the door is coming for them, afraid that they've been duped into following a fake Messiah. And Jesus comes and stands among them. Peace be with you. It wasn't into some other world, some far-off future world that Jesus was resurrected. Jesus didn't look down from the heavens and say, "Hey, you all down there, wait till you get here. It's really great." He was resurrected into our world, into the world of flesh and blood and human fear and frailty. Even in their joy, they were disbelieving, Luke tells us. You frightened ones, you confused and unsure ones, you are God's children now, today, John tells them. And this is the love that God has for you. In all of our fears and worries and uncertainties, in all of the ways that we can feel overwhelmed by the world amidst a changing world, in all of the ways that the world can make us feel like we don't belong and maybe even tempt us into making others feel like they don't belong, into all of this, the risen Christ comes and stands among us. Peace be with you. And that word that was spoken in the upper room so many centuries ago is spoken now to each of us in the waters of our baptisms and in the bread and the wine of this meal. This Christ comes and stands among us to say, "Peace be with you. You are a child of God, and nothing that you ever do or nothing that is ever done to you can change that." Standing in the midst of our fears and worries, in the midst of the challenges that surround us, Christ speaks this word so that we can speak it then to others. And so just as centuries ago in the community that John was writing to, we also step out of the norms and morals of the society that surrounds us. When the world tells us that we are to amass power, to control others, to rise above and put others beneath us, we instead embrace the power of loving others. Our call is not to be at the center of our society, but to work to make Christ's love the center of our lives. Our call is not to grow our numbers as if we were trying to win a popularity contest, but to grow in our faith so that we can stand amid the hurting and lonely among us and invite them too into these healing waters. And when we see others using our Christian faith to shame and marginalize others because of who they are or who they love, we instead recognize that the love of God has made us to love one another and has made humankind beautiful and variable across so many spectrums. And so we work for a world where love is valued for love and where all people can feel safe being themselves. And when those around us, too many of our neighbors, when those around us embrace cruelty and contempt and try to make themselves feel bigger by making us or others feel smaller, we will stand with the children of God, showing solidarity with those who are hurt and remembering that those who hurt others do so often out of their own fear and frailty. And we will remember that we are all in need of graceful forgiveness. Because God comes and stands among us in this water and at this table and declares us beloved, we go into the world to live among God's other beloved children, working to make new life in this world of the resurrection. That is the difference that the love of God makes to us, and for our neighbors. And that is who we have always been and will be as the church. We are those ones who have been in the upper room. We have been there and seen the risen Christ standing among us and saying, "Peace be with you." And so we go into the world speaking the same word, Peace be with you, to love as we have been loved.